Good morning, boys and girls, and today we're reading two stories, and I hope I can get to both of them. They all talk about clothes and how we make clothes. So, this one is going to be the first one, which is called From Sheep to Sweater, okay? And this one is titled The Elves and the Shoemaker. Let's begin. The Sheep to Sweater is written by Tarlow, and it's very short. Okay, it's a nonfiction book, and nonfiction means that the pictures are real, the information is real, and you're going to learn something new, something that is brand new that you never heard of. So we're going to talk about sweaters. Here is the sheep, and the reason why I'm showing this is because that's where your sweaters come from. It comes from an animal's skin, which happens to be the wool. Here is the wool. This is what they shave off the sheeps to make the sweaters. Okay? They take clippers like when you get a haircut at the barber shop, and then they let them grow another set of wool, but then they use that wool to make sweaters. Here is the yarn. So now the wool turns into yarn. They're taking the wool, you see it here in the basket, and this lady is turning it into yarn. Here are the needles. So now that you have yarn, you need needles to start crocheting or start knitting to make your sweaters. It's very, very interesting to see, and I've seen a lot of people learn about it later in life, and they make beautiful blankets for babies. They make beautiful sweaters and also scarves, which are really beautiful. Some people are really good at it, and they make hats, like wool hats, and that's good. Here is the truck, because remember, now that they make the sweater, they have to take it somewhere, right? Here is the store. Now they'll display the sweaters here, ready to be bought by somebody like you and me. Here is my sweater. So where did you get a sweater? You got it from a sheep. The end. And that's from Tarlow. But the next story is a fiction story. And a fiction story is created by imagination. It's not real. But I love it because it talks about making shoes. And lots of us don't know where shoes come from and how they're made. But Mara Alperin, who is the author of The Elves and the Shoemaker, decides to make this story very, very interesting. So here she goes. In an old and shabby shoe shop, there lived a cobbler named Stan and his wife, Jan. Okay? Though they were poor, they were very happy, for they loved to make shoes. Shoes for walking, shoes for jumping, shoes for skipping, and best of all, shoes for dancing. Every day Stan and Jen worked hard making shoes for their little shop. And every evening they slipped on their favorite dancing shoes and waltzed the night away. So you see, they make them, okay, and then they go out and have a good dance. The villagers loved to watch them dance, and before long, people young and old whirled and twirled through the door to join in. All summer long, the shoemakers danced, sharing their joy with everyone around them. So look at that. Now people not just come and dance, they also buy their shoes, which is what do you want to do? But soon the bitter winter came, and as the weeks passed, fewer and fewer customers stopped to buy shoes. Whatever will we do? Worried Stan. Soon we will have no money left and no more firewood. So what they're doing is trying to keep the firewood warm the house during the winter, but because they're not getting money from the shoes, they're losing customers, and then they're going to be suffering from the cold. That's terrible in this winter. The shop grew quieter and quieter. That night, Stan and Jen huddled by the tiny fire, their fingers too cold to sew and their feet too frozen to dance. Let's go to bed, Jen chattered. Perhaps we'll think of something in the morning. Poor thing, look at them. The heat is not enough for them. Do you have heat at home? Is your house warm? Are you suffering from the winter cold? Are you going to be okay this weekend when the winter really hits us? But in the morning they awoke to find the most magnificent pair of shoes. Leaping laces, who made these? Marveled Stan. Before they could start to wonder, look at these shoes. They look like fire, right? The shop door opened and then marched their first customer in weeks. And guess what? I guess this person is going to buy the shoes. Good day, cried the customer. My name is Sir Flumby. I spied these splendid shoes in the window, and I simply must have them. The shoes fit perfectly. And guess what? He's going to buy them. So Sir Flumby paid Stan a handful of gold pieces and skipped away merrily in his new shoes. Delighted, Stan went to the market to buy some more supper and fire. And that night the shoemaker and his wife danced in with joy once more. And that's wonderful. That's what you want to happen. The next morning they found, to their amazement, 3 new pairs of shoes, even more stunning than the last. Stan and Jan could not believe their eyes. But just then, wow, look at those shoes. Greetings, shoemakers. I am Sir Flimsy Flopsy, and I have heard tales of your marvelous shoes. Why, they are even more fabulous than I imagined, he bellowed. I shall buy them all. 1 pair for me, and the others for my horse Toby. So Sir Flipsy Flopsy, filled the shoemaker's pockets with gold coins and galloped off. Look. Interesting, right? From then on, there were shiny new shoes every morning. Soon the shop was warm and cozy and bustling with customers day after day. One day Jan said, "We still don't know who is helping us. I wish we could thank them." Then Stan had a wonderful idea. Why don't we stay up and find out? And I think that's a perfect idea. So that night, Jan and Stan hid behind the curtains. They waited and waited and waited until as the clock struck midnight and tiptoed across the room. cute, right? They're so adorable. The elves set to work with a stitch, 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 and a rap, rap, and a tap, tap. And as they worked, they sang, "We love jumping, leaping, prancing. We were sad when you stopped dancing. So in we creep while you are dreaming, making new shoes bright and gleaming." That's nice. That's a very good act of kindness. All night the elves sewed until the sun began to rise, and then quietly, they popped back through the keyhole. So they're so tiny, nobody can see them. That's so adorable. I love that. Stan and Jen were so surprised by what they'd seen. "What delightful little elves," Stan whispered. "We must repay their kindness." "Let's make them their own little dancing shoes," said Jen, "and some dancing clothes too." So the next morning, that's just what they did. Jan knitted tiny sweaters using tiny pins, then sewed in tiny apple seeds for decorations. Stan crafted tiny shoes from dandelion leaves. They stitched them with daisy stem laces, and together they made little pointy hats finished with the tiniest pom-poms. Isn't that adorable? Adorable. I think that is so beautiful. At midnight, Stan left the tiny parcel on the workbench just before the three little elves crept inside. "For our very special helpers, may you dance the night away. With love, Jen and Stan." What the elves saw their new clothes. When the elves saw their new clothes, they were overjoyed. Aww. They giggled and wiggled and danced all night in the moonlight. But as the stars faded, the three tiny elves tiptoed away and vanished into the night. Aww. That's really nice. That was the last the shoemakers ever saw of the elves, but their kindness was never forgotten, and Stan and Jen danced every night with their friends just in case the elves ever returned. Aww. And who knows, maybe one day they will. The end. I hope you like this one because the act of kindness is something that we've been working in our classroom for the past 2 weeks. Remember, smart is not something you are. Smart is something you get.